Welcome, everybody, to episode 1 of Going Deep Underground. I'm Rick, here with Scott and Sean.
What's up?
Hey.
So we posted a video a little while back about how we had been talking about doing more content with the underground. So as we've been talking about that and exploring different options, what we came down to is that we wanted to go a little bit deeper into some of the things that relate to what we talk about on the underground, but we don't really get into that much. And really what it boils down to is that we've all gone through this spiritual awakening, which has opened our minds to new truths that could be, have potential to be right, other than the ones that we grew up with and have believed all our lives because that's what we were taught. And going through that from a spiritual standpoint opened our minds to these new truths, but then it also opens it for truths in other topics, other
Shit
areas.
we would have never considered when we were in the box of being told what we could believe, right?
Or if we
So-
considered it, it was more of a sci-fi, or it was just kind of not within the realm of possibility.
It was out there.
Right.
So essentially it's what most people consider conspiracy theories, stuff like that people just brush off as being completely,
Unreal.
nuts.
That can't be real. That's not real.
But, and not that we're going to sit here and tell you that we necessarily think any particular topic or thing that we discuss is real, but we find them interesting and we're open to the possibility of other things being true than what we've thought our entire lives.
Yes.
What I think is even... Is your glass broke? Oh, no.
No, I guess it had some little film every time.
Sorry, we're still live. I just look like his
every
glass
time,
is
every
broke.
time we film, I find a little more of this film to peel off, and it's just like I don't know. Anyway.
What I was going to
Cheers.
say is... Shit, I forgot what I was going to say.
Well, here's the thing.
What
is
were
that
you just saying?
I was talking about how I don't remember. But here's where I was gonna go. Here's where I was gonna go.
It'll come back.
So my whole life, my favorite stories, my favorite genre has been science fiction and fantasy. Growing up, those are the types of books I like to read. Those are the types of movies that were my favorite. And so a lot of that stuff plays into what most people consider as conspiracy theories. And so I've always been open to that thinking anyway, because I feel like it allows me to use my imagination in a way that other things don't. And by immersing yourself in these science fiction or fantasy worlds, it allows me to do that. And so that's always had an interest for me anyway. And so like I said, as I went through my spiritual awakening and my mind got open to those new types of truths, I then started thinking about and having more of an open mind towards other things being potential truths.
Possible.
Right.
Just possible.
And again, it's not that I'm going to say that I think that any one, or I'm going to try and prove any one is true or untrue. It's just that I find the topic interesting and just to discuss them and the potential of, that maybe it is possible.
Okay, so my question is, when did you start thinking outside of the box like that to get to a place where you could go, I might even be able to consider thinking about...
Well, I don't know if this is what you're exactly talking about, but my mind was, I go back to science fiction and fantasy, just being able to...
So at a young age, you were thinking there's a possibility that this shit could be real.
Well, I thought that, there definitely could be aliens and stuff going on outside of our perspective. Yeah, I was certainly open to that potential.
Did you believe in aliens when you were a little kid?
I think I would have agreed with aliens. I thought because what we were always taught, that there were always planets without number, that there was other life form or there was other humans out there.
Now for me, it's that sort of reinforced. I think for me, it started more as a fantasy to believe in that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But then, the whole underground, we talk about our backgrounds in the Mormon religion, and one of the beliefs was that there have been unnumbered planets and
Worlds without number.
Worlds without number. And so just the mathematics of it, to have that kind of number of planets, it couldn't have happened just once. And that kind of, for me, reinforced it from a spiritual
Okay,
perspective.
can I interject on? Because I remember thinking, and I remember being told as a little kid that everything is created in God's image. Like the other planets that are out there, it's just all the other wives of God, or all the other. Like we were taught as Mormons that Heavenly Father, God, went through a earthly existence, much like what we're experiencing.
Essentially, he went through what we went through first, which is how he became God.
And so he went through it. He went through it. Sorry. I needed to swallow the little M&M stuck in my throat there. He went through this existence. Well, he was just the little kid of some other fucking god that was doing it. So when I thought of other planets, which yes, we were taught that there's numbers without worlds, I just thought it was a bunch of people running around. I didn't ever think about
So and I think that's where most people from the Mormon background would think of it, because you're right. It does say that they were made in his image, but I kind of thought, could it? So my thought was this: maybe in his image could be more of a general term, where they still have 2 arms, they have 2 legs.
You thought that?
Yeah, I thought maybe they still, in shape and everything, take on the image of God, but not necessarily exactly like
you didn't
we
take
do.
it literally. I took it literally.
Well,
you're like,
I certainly took
God
it
could be
literally,
a gorilla.
but when I started thinking, I essentially thought, it wouldn't be,
God's a gorilla.
it wouldn't be too far off for someone to say that the typical or the stereotypical alien picture, just because it's got big eyes, it's still got 2 arms, it's still got 2 legs, it's still kind of the same image with some tweaks, right? So that's how I kind of thought it from my sci-fi fantasy mind was, just because it's in God's image doesn't necessarily mean everything has to look exactly like we do.
So then we grow up in the late 70s and throughout the 80s, right? And you've got the likes of Star Trek.
Thumbs up for the 80s.
Star Wars.
Smash that like button for the 80s.
Those were good years.
80s were the best.
I love the 80s.
I will fight anybody who wants to fight. 80s were the best.
But yeah, so you have a lot of these science fiction like Flash Gordon, Star Wars, Star Trek, 2001. And then all of a sudden you...
Those 70s.
Yeah, but we were a 70 product.
Did you see 2001 in the 70s?
No, but I saw it in the 80s.
because the 80s were awesome. Sorry for roasting your eardrums right there.
But anyway, so then you have that in your consciousness. Did either of you think that could be possible?
I didn't think of it that way. I didn't think of it like when I thought in my mind that, I think there could be aliens out there and stuff going on, whatever it is. I didn't necessarily think of it as, it could be Star Wars playing out in real life or Star Trek or anything else. I didn't look at it that way.
Like that was science fiction. It
was still fiction. Yeah. I certainly thought that there was certainly the potential and probability.
Not me.
That there was that. So
no,
not you.
We were taught God, image, all that stuff. No aliens. That's what I was taught.
Yeah.
So I just
wasn't
even in the realm of possibility.
You had that in your consciousness. So did you ever think that would be something that was believable? That could be.
Look, I think
that's the question.
No, back then I don't know, because I didn't have the open-mindedness that I have now to be able to say, whatever aliens might be, it could be whatever. They could have 10 legs and be like a grasshopper person, whatever. Back then I wouldn't have thought of anything like that being possible, because my mind wasn't open enough for that. It was open enough to think that, there could be aliens and they could look similar to us, but it wasn't that
So
far.
obviously we have opened our minds, and there's different things that are out there that we're reading about and we're watching about and we're listening to. There's a streaming service that came out a couple of years ago. I remember just seeing little 30-second clips on Facebook and being intrigued, talking about ancient civilizations. I guess it goes back even further than that. I guess it goes back to
Well, the secret.
Ancient Aliens.
Oh yeah.
Ancient Aliens came out, and that started talking about stuff around those realms back in 2009.
And a lot of that was like taboo stuff to really.
That's why I love that show at the very beginning, because it was the first one that kind of felt like a legitimate show about aliens, something that I'd always been fascinated with,
but yet had been kind of narrow-minded to some point
because you're put in this box, you're sort of, as a kid, you're put in this box of what to believe and what not to believe.
As a kid being raised in a certain religion.
Right. Well, it could be, yes, in my case, but it doesn't necessarily have to be that way. I'm just saying,
because God was the creator.
Right.
God was the creator. He had his son.
So, biblical Judeo-Christian belief system that God, Elohim, Yeshua, whatever you want to call him.
But based on what we talked about earlier, about there being planets beyond number, and God went through the same process. So there's obviously people without number, essentially, right? Besides God, there's gods without number. So that whole thing just kind of made it my belief of something else being out there religiously plausible.
So my point was, Ancient Alien comes out, The Secret comes out, these things are coming out in the process that we're walked away from the church. We're not practicing anymore.
Our minds are just being opened to.
We're considering things. I mean, I remember. I'll be the first person to admit. The first time I read The Secret, it was in 2006. Divorced, the worst place in my life. Hated my life. Hated my job. And I remember walking through Target one lonely night, being a single dad, just by myself without my kid, and reading Learn the secret to amazing potential and having everything you want in your life. And I was like, on sale for $14. Okay, let's buy it. And I got it home, and I opened it up, and it was like fucking Ralphie on A Christmas Story. When they're like, the secret is it's your thoughts. And I was like, are you fucking kidding me? I spent $14 for somebody to tell me that my thoughts are the problem, and I remember throwing it, not being ready for it at that point. Yeah. And all of these things that we're talking about, look, if you're watching this and you're going, I'm not ready for it, I don't want aliens, I don't want to talk about aliens, watch The Underground. It airs every month, the very first week of the month. We don't know which day yet, we're changing that around. But anyways, this might not be the show for you, but and we know there are those other people out there that are watching that are going, you know what, I've seen Gaia.
Oh, okay, so...
I've watched Gaia. I've seen ancient civilizations.
But the amount of information, the type of information now that's starting to enter the consciousness.
Okay, hold on.
It's flooding. There's so much out there now versus 20 years ago.
So hold on though. We'll get more into this. But you asked me what my thing was that I wanted to talk about. What was one of the top things that I wanted to talk about in this? So what about you guys? Sean, what is it like? What's one thing you're wanting to get into?
It was fascinating when I first heard the term astral projection. I thought, well, that sounds intriguing. What is that?
Okay, so there might be a lot of people asking right now, what is that?
Well, and this is what I'm in the process of learning too. Is what astral projection is, but in a
Cliff Notes version
is. It's where the body, it's where the spirit, consciousness, or whatever you want to call it, leaves the body.
Still connected through a spiritual thread.
Yes,
there's still a connection there.
And now here's the thing: is that for different people, the whole alien thing, some people are going to be open to, and some people are going to be like, "That's fucking crazy." Other people are going to say astral projection. Okay, yeah, I can see that, and other people are going to think. No, that's fucking crazy.
But have you watched Doctor Strange?
But that's
Doctor Strange. They talk about the astral realm, which is where that spirit is able to disconnect from the physical body. And that scene where she pushes him and he goes flying back. Cue it right here. That's phenomenal.
You know what I was taught though when I first heard the term, I was in Lilydale, Victoria, Australia, and we're teaching this gal, and she brings up astral projection, and I'm like, astral projection? What the hell
are
is
you
that?
talking about? Have you heard about Joseph Smith and the Golden Flame?
And she starts to tell us, I'm like, what she was telling it was essentially what I said was consciousness or the spirit leaves the body.
Yeah.
And of course, you know,
The first time I heard about astral projection was when my 12-year-old was trying to do it in my house, and I was like, "What the fuck? What's astral projection?"
So you Googled it?
It's like he's trying to leave his body while he's in our house. We're like, Taylor, no astral projection in the house.
Yes.
This was probably
And
11
so,
years ago.
So you were at where I think still most people are going to be at, which is like that's just the craziest shit I've ever heard.
But not only the craziest shit, the scariest shit. Because
Yeah,
once you leave your body, you have the ability to have demons. This is what I'm taught, right?
Well,
At
there's stuff that's out there.
20, right. But everyone you talk to that knew anything about astral projection, they're like, oh yeah, it's bad. Because
So-
Okay,
demons
make
get
this
into
point
your
very
body.
clear. We're at that point where we're learning about this type of stuff, and we're interested in this type of stuff, and so
And
we're going to have a
again-
conversation.
And so my point was some of the things I'm going to want to talk about are going to sound crazy to some people. Some of the things that Sean wants to talk about.
Oh, it's
is gonna
all
sound-
crazy.
And so then what
It
about
all
you?
sounds crazy.
I mean, I have to go back to like the beginning of it for me. Go back to The Secret. Go back to that me throwing the book across the room and just being so offended that my shitty
Somebody's
fucked up
talking
life,
down to you.
my life is the result of my thoughts and not being prepared for that. I've had people that have reached out that have commented to us in these videos that we've done because I've spoken about the law of attraction. I've spoken about the power of your thoughts becoming things. And somebody commented and it was like, you know, that's just another ideology that teaches that you can you know, profit and you can be successful. I forget how they described it, but I don't look at the law of attraction as this is how I'm going to be wealthy and this is how I'm going to be successful. I look at the law of attraction like, hey, look out. Those thoughts that you have right now are fucking you over. Because I can go back, and we've proven it on this show, on the underground, we've proven it. I read in my journal. I called the day that we got sent home from our missions. I was saying, I'm praying I can make it safe and sound until July. I just want to get an honorable release. Like, these are the thoughts that I was having at that point. And so to be able to go back and see that and see all of the times that my thoughts have become things. But on a deeper level than that, I'm actually reading a book right now that I found at a local shop by an author named Christiane Turner. It's called The Law of Attraction Formula. It is the deeper quantum physics, the molecules in your body, that quantum level of attraction that I'm really kind of falling into right now. And I'm becoming so aware of the law of attraction on that quantum level. I remember, and I'm probably up with my time, but I remember going to dinner with a friend of mine years ago, probably back in 2015. And he said, you know, I've seen you posting stuff on Facebook about the law of attraction. And at first I was like, I don't know about that. And then he's like, but then I did a little research on it, and Albert Einstein says that everything is energy. That's all there is. And if you can match the vibration or the frequency of the vibration
that you want,
you will match that and you will attract that, and it's physics. And he said, when I read that, I went, oh yeah, that totally makes sense. At that point, I was like, oh, okay, cool. So you believe in the law of attraction. I didn't get that physics quantum level aspect.
Going to that level, and I'll never forget where I was, what I was doing when I read that, going, holy shit, there's a lot of truth to this. Because when Tesla talks about, if you want to understand the mysteries of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration.
Everything vibrates. Everything on this planet is made up out of
Thoughts
cells.
Are vibration. Right?
Cells, not sales. Everything is cells. Cells are just subatomic particles. They're atoms.
Dance of creation.
Yeah. That's what I want to talk about.
So I was just gonna say we're starting to get a little bit deeper than probably we ought to, because that'll be a whole episode in and of itself, right? And so I sort of jumped the gun earlier, but that's kind of the point, is that some people are gonna think aliens are crazy. Some
I
people
would have
are
thought
gonna
it 10
think
years
astral
ago.
projection is crazy. Some people think the law of attraction is hippy dippy bullshit.
I would have thought this all 10 years ago.
The point
20 years
is that these are things that we're interested in, and we're more open to the possibility of other things being true. And so we just wanted to start a new show and create more content that went a little deeper about some of these things, just to have a conversation about it, because it's interesting.
The possibilities that could be out there that we've never been taught, because we're always taught what everyone's taught.
Well,
our parents teach us.
Well,
what
not
our
only
parents
have we
teach
never,
them.
and not only have we never been taught, but even if we had been taught, we would have been taught that it was, that it's just total fabrication, total bullshit.
There's evidence of ancient civilizations that were taught this knowledge, and all of a sudden mysteriously disappeared.
So these are some of the kind of things we're going to be getting into with going deep underground, is just some of these, like I said, what a lot of people consider as conspiracy theories. And it's going to be all over the board, whether it's law of attraction or aliens or lizard people or
metaphysics.
Yeah, it's going to be all over the place. It's going to be a very wide and vast topic, and it'll be fun.
But I think the thing that's cool about it, and this is what I love so much, is that we met both the three of us. We met in a situation where we were out talking about things that we believed, that were important. I think it's just super cool that here we are having the show where we're talking about things now that 25 years later we have found to be relevant and important, and at least, if anything, worth having a conversation about. We're not professing truth. We're not saying that this is the way. We're not saying that what he thinks is right. We'll have a little disclaimer saying the views expressed on this meeting are not necessarily those of the underground. We'll have that at the beginning of the show. Because we're still trying to figure stuff out, but we're willing to at least have a conversation about it, which gives us the opportunity to consider possibilities.
Yeah,
that's what this is about.
We're open and interested in having conversation about topics, no matter how crazy they might seem to, to the majority of people, and even to where we were at not long ago, as far as what we were willing to entertain.
Look, I've learned things over the years that the law of attraction is not just a prosperity belief. The law of attraction can be one of those things that gets you. You've learned things that you've tested through meditation. I was going to say mediation. Freudian slip. Through meditation. Have you talked to aliens, Jeff? Conversations with aliens?
Have you been abducted by aliens?
So do you remember the movie
Mac and Me?
Something in the
something in the
sky.
scene.
What are you talking about?
Every time Paul Rudd is on Conan, he
Yes,
shows
I
that
know.
scene from Mac and Me.
Fire in the Sky. Remember that show about a guy in Arizona, northern Arizona, gets abducted? Anyway, stuff like that. I always think, without all of the, I used to think it'd be cool to be abducted. I don't want to go through the shit he went through.
So aliens, if
More
you're
like
watching,
more like an ET alien.
a friendly
Are
ET.
Are we talking
Not
Draco,
alien,
or
or that
way up there, Morty.
Anyway, so we're gonna go all over the place, and we're just gonna talk about all kinds of things.
Do you know why? Because we want to have fun. We want to hang out together. We want to drink beer. We want to talk about cool
And
shit.
we want to interact with people that are watching and sending, asking questions and stuff.
So
here's
live and you're on.
here's something moving forward that
Wrapping up.
should be taken into consideration is consider everything but believe nothing. Now this is something that I have thought about, being a free thinker for, I'd say, the latter part of my 20.
If you've seen episode 5, it goes back to about age 14, 15.
Yeah, but just having that sense of different awareness, or just seeing little road signs here and there, just like here it is. But being a free thinker, consider everything but believe nothing, because once you adopt a belief system, then all of the information that comes to you is going to be judged in accordance with that belief system. And stuff that doesn't fit in your belief system, you may disregard and you may discard. and it may well be important information which will one day lead us to the truth. And so when you're talking about being open-minded or just being a free thinker, this really kind of rang true, for me.
I think the opening line, is it the opening line that says, consider everything but believe nothing? And that's really what we're doing right now. That's what this whole point is that we're going, look, we were once told to believe something, and we stepped outside of that world, and now we don't want to necessarily find ourselves confined to a belief system. So that gives us that freedom to really consider everything, and that's why we were doing this.
And yeah, that one really rings true to me too, that quote. I've mentioned that my favorite stories, my favorite movies are sci-fi fantasy, and that's kind of where all this, it all plays. That's where science fiction and fantasy comes from, really, is a lot of the stuff that people think are conspiracy theories.
Don't just disregard something because
it seems fantastical and crazy,
or because it just seems out of your realm of thinking. Consider the possibility that maybe everything that you've been told is a lie. Just consider it, and that gives you freedom to be able to go, okay, so what else might be out there?
And at the very least, it allows you, and this is again one of the things I like about science fiction fantasy, is that it allows me to use my imagination and having these conversations. Having these conversations, whether they're, it's something that's true or not true, it allows you to just explore the possibility of all kinds of different things and interesting things.
I quote Aladdin.
Oh, where's this going?
I can show you the world. Look, that's what we're going to do. We're going to talk about some cool shit. We're going to talk about things that we find interesting, that we think is fun to talk about, and that's what we like doing, getting together, drinking beer, making these videos, talking about shit. We're not telling you that this is the truth or that we believe this. It's going, hey, have you ever thought about lizard people that rule the world?
Now,
too much.
Things are going to be a little bit
too soon.
Things are going to be a little different than the underground.
The flag is different. We have a different poster in here.
But the whole process of this is going to be a little bit different. Like I said earlier, we were trying to figure out how to come up with more content. It's going to be more of a regular thing. It's going to be live. Now, I know this isn't live, but we've shot this as much as we have been able to.
We really intended to do it as a 30-minute run with no interruptions, but I don't know if you caught Petey.
Practicing it as a live video.
Thumbs up if you caught Petey. Thumbs up if you caught Petey.
But anyway, it's going to be a little different. It's going to be live. It's going to be on a more frequent basis. But we're going to be able to get into some interesting things.
And that means that because we're doing it live, we can schedule it. People can plan on being on here. If you want to talk to us, if you want to ask questions, we'll be answering questions. If you want to come on and just tell us something cool and funny and interesting, we'll be here to talk about it.
So, keep watching The Underground, but also come...
what are we calling this again?
Going Deep Underground.
That's it.
Going Deep Underground. We're going to have some new music for this and everything?
Oh, we can't recycle the music. Yeah, it's gotta be.
Oh, that means we get
It's
to
gotta
go
be
look
like
at all the free
mystic-
samples of music that we have to choose from to find something.
I think my schedule says I'm busy during that time. So.
Well,
Anyhow, thanks for watching. There'll be many more of these to come, and really looking forward to them. So, until the next one.
Cheers, everybody.
Cheers.
You almost broke my mug.